Welcome to SMSF A2Z. If getting your financial future sorted for 2026 is on your mind, then you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're diving deep into the world of self-managed super funds, or SMSFs, and how they can put you, and I mean you, in the driver's seat of your retirement.
You know that feeling, right? You get your super statement, you see a number, but does it ever feel like it's just out there somewhere, managed by people you'll never meet, invested in who knows what? It's a really common frustration, feeling like you have no control over one of your biggest assets. And that quote right there hits the nail on the head. It's the whole reason we're talking about this today. The number one reason people make the switch to a self-managed super fund is to take back that control. We're not just talking about shuffling money around, we're talking about you making the calls for your own future. All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. Think of it as your personal roadmap. We'll kick things off with what an SMSF even is. Then, we'll walk through exactly how to get one started. After that, the really fun stuff, the incredible investment and borrowing power you get. We'll cover the huge tax advantages, and we'll finish up with how you can use an SMSF for the whole family and even invest in modern assets. So let's start at square one. What in the world are we actually talking about when we say self-managed super fund? To put it really simply, it's your own private super fund. Instead of being one of millions of members in some giant corporate fund, it's just you and up to 5 other people. Could be your partner, your family, even close friends. You're the only members. And crucially, you're also the managers. You're in charge.
And this gets to the absolute core of it all, the why. It all comes down to one word: control. That's the main driver. You get to decide where your money goes. Want to buy a specific investment property? You can do that. Curious about alternative assets like crypto? You can explore that too. Plus, you can pool your super with your spouse or family to have a much bigger chunk of capital to work with right from the get-go.
Okay, so that's the what and the why. Now for the big one, the how. Setting up an SMSF might sound daunting, but honestly, it's a really clear step-by-step process.
This is always the first question on everyone's mind. And you know what? There's no single magic number. It really depends on your age and what you plan to do. How much money you have is actually less important than how much time you have to let it grow.
So context is everything here. Let's paint a picture. For a couple in their 30s, maybe with a combined super balance of, say, $150,000 to $200,000, an SMSF can be an absolute powerhouse for building wealth. Why? They've got decades ahead of them. But take that same 200 grand, if you're 65 and about to retire, or you're just starting out with only 10 grand, the setup costs might not make as much sense. It's all about that long-term strategy.
Ready for the blueprint? It's basically 5 steps. First, pretty simple. Find out exactly what your current super balance is. Second, you'll need to team up with an expert, like an accountant who specializes in this. They'll help you with the crucial third step, setting up a corporate trustee. Then they'll get you an ABN and a tax file number for your new fund. And last, you open a bank account just for the fund. The whole thing takes about 5 to 6 weeks, and then you're off and running.
And now we get to what is, for many, the most powerful and exciting feature of an SMSF, the ability to borrow money or use leverage. Honestly, this is a real game changer.
Okay, let's go back to our couple. They've pulled their super together, and they have a starting balance of 200 grand in their brand new SMSF. Now, in a normal super fund, that's it. That's what you've got to invest.
But inside an SMSF, that $200,000 isn't just investment money. It's a deposit. Your fund can actually go to the bank and borrow money to buy a much bigger asset, like a property. And here's where the magic happens. That 200 grand can unlock an $800,000 loan. Now the fund can go out and buy a $1 million property. And just like that, their super fund holds a $1 million asset. The potential growth on that $1 million is what can seriously accelerate their retirement savings in a way that's just not possible in most other funds. So beyond that incredible investment power, an SMSF is also a super tax-effective way to operate. Because remember, it's not just about what you earn, it's about what you get to keep. Now, that is a huge claim, but when you actually look at the numbers and the rules, you start to see why people say it. The way an investment property is taxed inside super is fundamentally different and way better than holding it in your own name. Let's put these two scenarios side by side. So negative gearing is just when the costs of an asset are more than the income it brings in. But here's the difference. Outside super, you save for a deposit with money you've already paid tax on. Inside your SMSF,
The deposit is funded by your super contributions, which are tax deductible. That's a massive head start. And the finish line is even better. When you retire, the rent you get and any profit from selling the property can be completely tax-free. It's truly a night and day difference.
Here's another major tax win: life insurance. The advice here is pretty much universal. Always hold it inside your fund. Why? Simple. Your SMSF gets to claim a tax deduction for the premiums it pays for you. And if a claim is ever made, that big payout comes into the fund totally tax-free. For any young family, it's just a really smart, tax-effective way to look after your future.
Okay, let's wrap up with two of the coolest parts of having an SMSF: how it can work as a true family fund and how it lets you get into new types of assets.
Think of an SMSF as a potential hub for your family's wealth. You can have up to 6 family members in one fund. Kids can join their parents' fund, which saves a ton on fees. In fact, the parents' bigger balance can actually cover all the fees. And the best part? You don't all have to agree on everything. You can split the fund into partitions, so maybe the parents stick with their safe blue-chip shares while you use your portion to buy property. It's collaborative, but you still have your independence.
And that brings us to the question on everyone's lips these days. What about crypto? Can an SMSF do that? And the answer is a straight-up yes. Absolutely. You just have to make sure you're following the rules, like buying it from a proper exchange through your fund's own bank account. But, and this is a really big but, with that high reward potential comes very high risk. That's just the reality of volatile assets. The great thing about an SMSF is you have the freedom to make that choice, but you also carry all of the responsibility. Having a really clear, well-thought-out investment strategy is not optional here, it's essential.
And you know, this really brings us full circle. At the end of the day, that superannuation balance, it's yours. It belongs to you. An SMSF is just the tool that hands you the keys and lets you decide where you want to drive.
So the ability to take charge of your own retirement is right there. The real question isn't whether it's possible. It's whether you're ready to take on the responsibility and the incredible rewards that come with being in control of your own financial destiny.